basically, how did you get involved in art? Like, did you think you would be an art teacher or anything involving art?
Sure. I've always been into art, so I don't really remember a time when I wasn't making things. Well, neither one of my parents are into art at all. My grandmother did a lot of knitting and embroidery and sewing, and I have a lot of aunts and cousins that are artists. So that was something I was always exposed to, and that when my parents realized I was interested in, they encouraged me in it. So I had my own little, actually it wasn't little, it was big, art closet at home. When I was growing up, it was just full of art supplies for me to make things with. And I also always knew I wanted to teach. My mom's a teacher, and I loved grading her papers and helping with things like that. It wasn't until high school that I realized I wanted to put the two things together, but they were both things I was always interested in.
Okay. Okay. And what actually made you interested in art, I guess? So you kind of just said like you always were exposed to it. Would that kind of be...
Um, yeah, I think because I was exposed to it and it was just something that I had fun doing and I seemed to be good at, which probably helped. So, people were always encouraging me in it and telling me I was good at it. So I guess that's helpful when you're younger. If everybody's praising you for something, you keep on doing it.
Okay. Let's see. Who has helped motivated you? You obviously said your parents were very supportive of it, but were they like the only people, or was it like your friends too?
Um, I don't think my friends really had much to do with it. I mean, they didn't care what I did. Um, Probably my grandmother, she taught me a lot when I was younger. So I started like knitting and embroidering when I was probably in second grade, like as soon as I could begin to understand the process. And I decided to put the art and the teaching together when I was in high school. One of my high school art teachers, he was also my student council advisor, and I just really, really liked him. And he was really encouraging, and I thought it seemed like he had such a cool job. So that's what I decided I wanted to do.
Okay. Um, let's see. Obviously, I know what you make now, but I kind of need to ask you that again.
Yeah. So now I weave one-of-a-kind scarves, which I also do a lot of mixed media things with them. So I add braids to them, I add grommets and other metals to them. I sometimes work with dyeing things, and I just started adding leather to them. So really anything I can find, I love to play with. I've always been into mixed media, which is what I actually concentrated on in college. Or anything that's kind of playful. I like to hang out at the hardware store. And I swear they probably think I'm a crazy person because I don't know what you're supposed to do with anything. And I go and just go through all the little drawers of hardware and pull things and buy them because I think they look cool. But I'm sure none of them make sense to be purchasing together.
Okay. Obviously, right now you're making one-of-a-kind scarves for anyone that would like one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan to just keep doing the same thing, or do you plan to, I don't know, not so much like leave the teaching job because I guess you like that aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
do you plan on going even further into, I guess, more of a famous artist?
My kind of current plans or thoughts, I've been playing around with making some smaller wall hangings as adding kind of another element to what I create. I a couple months ago launched another website, and so that website I focus on talking about creativity and education. And I'm teaching my own online class on creativity from that site. So I plan to do, I'm not sure exactly where I want that to go yet, but I plan to do more of my own like teaching and consulting on creativity from that site. Um, and then from there, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll keep on evolving. Um, but I just do a little bit at a time. So I think my artwork will stay the same maybe for a little longer because more of my energy currently has been going into the actual teaching part, but teaching on my own terms and for myself.
Okay, cool. Okay, now where exactly do you get your ideas? You said you go to the hardware store and you just find things that fascinate you. Is that more of how it is, or do you
Yeah.
like see things and you're like inspired by it?
Well, I do spend a lot of time on Pinterest. Um, and that is more just like I don't tend to spend time looking at other scarves. So I draw inspiration from kind of anything I look at, but I don't look at them when I'm creating. It's more just there's lots of information in my head. And then I'm really influenced by materials. So there's a couple different stores that I'll go to and just wander around with them with very little intention and buy things that I think look interesting.
That's awesome. So, do you have any advice that anyone, like, for anyone that would be questioning art in their future, if they don't know, like, if they can make a future out of it, or if they're not sure yet, if they want to do
Um,
it?
I would say one, look up people that are doing what you want to be doing and send them an email and see if they'd be willing to talk to you. Because 99% of the time they will be. And the really probably worst thing they would say is, I'm really busy and I can't talk to you right now. Um, and so that can be really helpful if you're trying to figure out if it's what you want to do to find out more of the elements that go into it. And you probably should know a little bit about business because you you do have to find a way, even if you make phenomenal art, you have to find a way to get it out into the world and to get people to pay attention to it and buy it from you. Um, and then like go to look up like big craft shows or galleries and go walk them and look at them. Craft shows are really good. And I don't mean like craft shows at your church, which you could do, but like much higher end ones, because all of the artists are right there. So it's easy to talk to them and actually ask them questions about how they got started um, and what they're doing and how do you even get to do a show like that.
Okay. Let's see. So I know that you went to Messiah for
Mm-hmm.
obviously pottery, and then you changed your major to knitting, or
Well, my major was always art education, but within that, you have to choose a concentration. And so my concentration was mixed media, and both pottery and textiles were under mixed media. So I just started by taking a lot of pottery classes. And I actually only ever have taken one weaving class. The rest I've taught myself. And so
oh
I took
my,
a lot of pottery classes and then took one weaving class and then kept going with it.
that's crazy. Okay, so obviously you are selling your scarves ridiculously amounts by tons because everyone knows about you up here. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had to write a proposal for it,
Uh huh.
and I had to present it to our class. So I presented it, and like since it's in a gen ed, there's not too many art majors in the class, but there are a few, and some of them were like, "Oh my gosh, you know Mrs. Kane," and I was like, "Yeah, she was my teacher." They're like,
Oh,
"No way," and I
wow.
was like, "Yeah, she was my art teacher."
How did they know who I was?
I have not, I think they just like, I think they heard from someone that they bought a scarf because I have seen a few that look like you have made them. And I was like,
Okay.
those look so familiar. And then I would occasionally ask and they'd be like, yeah, I got it from a lady named Amber Kane. She's like down by like the Lancaster. And I was like, no way, she's my teacher.
That's
It
exciting.
was it was pretty ridiculous. Like yeah, a lot of people know about you up here, which is wouldn't have expected yet.
I wouldn't have expected it either. When you said that, I was like, really?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Cool.
But since you are very well known, are you presented by a gallery, or is it just one of those things that, like, if they call you and ask you, you'll give some,
Hmm.
like, I guess, some shows?
Um, I did a couple galleries when I first started out, but the way galleries often work with things like mine that are functional and wearable,
Mm-hmm.
um, is they take your work and it's for sale, but they take like 40 to 60% commission. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So
okay.
I did that for a little bit, which is fine to start off, but it's hard to keep track. Well, it's not hard. I'm just not good at it, to be honest. Um, to keep track of the inventory, and then they always want you to be switching workout, and I didn't like doing it. Basically, I was sick of it. So, I do shows throughout the year, which are shows that you submit an application with your work, and then your work goes in front of a jury of people, and then they let you in or they don't let you in. Um, and then I have someone in LA that represents me, and so she takes my work to. She has like a showroom for TV shows and celebrity stylists and stuff like that. And so has my work in LA and sometimes takes it to New York.
Whoa.
Um, and so that's really the only person that sort of represents me, and the rest is things that I do myself. But most of the time, actually, recently when galleries have approached me, I've turned them down. It's just because it doesn't work for me.